I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover, whipping work. Hallelujah. One nation under God. Back, back, back. Like we never left for another episode recap of that good BMF, Black Mafia Family, Season 4, Episode 2, entitled Discovery. I think we just discovered that Loco is a goddamn wolf whisperer and shit. And if you here for the first time, well, you about to discover that I am your humble and most honorable host, Real. Welcome to Grown Movies and TV. Let's just get right down to brass tacks, shall we? Okay, so we start this episode back in the damn desert, a Mexican desert, with Meech, T, Loco, and El Grupo Los Lobos. The goddamn wolves. That's right, they flash us back to T and Meech down in Mexico again, you know. And as laid out by Loco last episode, well, they on their way to his crib in the mountains, which was a 3-damn-day trek on foot. Looked like the goddamn devil's hour again, too. Like it be dark as in Mexico, don't it? And between this episode and the last, we ain't seen a meet yet, you know, we ain't seen a meet nothing. Ain't even talk about being hungry. Not once in that goddamn desert. I know I'd be hungry as a mofo, you know. They ain't never really get into their eating situation. Though we did see Loco chowing down on something chewy last episode, you know. Look like Loco caught himself a little gopher meat or some shit. I know these mofos was as hangry as a Tasmanian wombat. You know who else was hangry? Them goddamn wolves, Los Lobos. Wolves was on their goddamn ass, wasn't they? Every breath you take, every move you make, every claim you stake, we'll be watching you. Motherfucking wolves was howling too, wasn't they? They was like, ow! What that mean in wolf language? It mean, we see you bitches. We smell you bitches. them wolves was circling. Tia Meech standing around looking aimless, you know, while Loco was going to town on a goddamn deer. Deer didn't stand a chance, did he? This mofo Loco was cutting out dear meat, not cutting up. Pulled out every damn organ too. This mofo had intestines, rib meat, lungs. Like, this mofo Loco was a goddamn butcher for real. Piled all them up into a big ass stack of meat and life support parts. You know, you would have thought this motherfucker deer was an organ donor or some shit. That goddamn deer didn't deserve all of that. Who the even knew deer existed in the goddamn desert? Like, I thought deer dwelled in wooded, shaded areas where trees and forests exist. You know. I guess that's what I get for thinking, ain't that right, Black? Roxanne. Y'all know what the I'm talking about. Loco tell Meech and T that they need to spread all these dead parts around. You know, take them and spread them around a little bit. So the wolves will eat that instead of them. Loco like, vamos. Don't know what the T problem was. But he tell Loco he ain't doing none of that shit. T like, the you mean, vamos? Like T was too good for that shit. Or he ain't just like the way Loco was handing out commands and shit. You know, like T wasn't a boss. T looking at Loco like, the is wrong with your ass? Don't you know I'm a boss too? Don't be talking to me like that. Loco rush over to T. Put that big ass hunting knife up to T's neck with the deer blood still dripping on it. You know, this the knife he been cutting the deer up with. Like, what? Meech tell Loco, nah, B, put a chill on that, you know, for now. That's my babe bro. And that little situation calms down. T get the bitch in the Meech, says, Loco, we should have left with the goddamn voodoo man. Let's hope the goddamn voodoo man actually left. Cause last we saw, his ass ain't seemed none too worried about a goddamn wolf. Like he went back to playing with chicken bones and sweet baby rays and shit, working on Meech prophecy and shit. We don't know. What we do know is that clearly T was goddamn Snickers hangry. Flashing forward back in the day, you know, back off that flashback. T-Crew keeping an eye on B-Mickie. Cause even though B-Mick did save they ass when he popped Lamar, they still don't know if this mofo with the cops on some deal or a no deal type, you know. Get them booked and busy for a stretch. And at some point T connects with B-Mickie, you know, at the behest of Sterl, who tells him not to do so without talking to Meech first. You know, don't know if it was guilt or what, but meet with B-Mickie T does regardless. Like he the boss. Ain't nobody gonna tell him what to do. He feel like meeting with B-Mickie? Well, that's just what the he gonna do. And B-Mickie tell T his little daughter need money, you know, cause she got some health issues. Some upcoming surgeries. Baby mom was putting that pressure on B-Mickie ass, wasn't she? He tell T that he trying to go the straight and narrow, you know, working at the GM plant and all. But that GM salary, well, it don't pay for the kind of help his daughter needs. And he tells T he wants back in so he can earn that money, you know, and take care of his daughter, despite their past differences. But T hit him with that hauling oats. Hit him with that, I can't go for that, no, no can do. Hands B-Mickie a fat-ass envelope stack of kiz ash, you know, for B-Mickie seed. But B-Mickie leave it in T hands. Tell him he don't want the money like that. Tell T he want to earn it. T like, all right, put the money away, roll the up out. At some point, T go back and meet with Markesha on her potential new connect. This South Carolina cat, Isaac Roberts. T tell Markesha for this first meet, she gonna have to sit this one out, that he gonna have to take that meeting alone with Mr. Roberts, feel him out and all. And T takes that meeting. And he tells T he got a trucking company with warehouses all over the state, said he covers his work with cow, so the dogs can't smell it. And if you ever smell cow, you know that can cook up a damn stink. Don't know what kind of molecular biological agents up in its makeup, but shit is hellified stink. That's goddamn stink, stank, stunk. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. I said his shit was stink, stank, stunk. This mofo Isaac riding dirty. Like I can imagine his trucks pulling down the road with flies all around the goddamn truck. Flies just on his ass. Looking like the motorized version of Pigpen and shit, T tell Isaac he like what he talking about, Puts Markesha in charge. Tells Roberts he gonna be dealing with her solely. Told Roberts ass to look, but don't touch, No, you can look, but don't touch. Like my Roberts don't know who Markesha ass is out in them screens. Roberts and Markesha baby daddy Boom was partners once, Like he don't know who the Markesha is. What the am I missing here? Afterwards, T stops by Markesha place, Lets her know that she gonna run point on this thing with Isaac Roberts. Just walked up in her crib, I mean, he figured he paying for it. Also thinking he gonna get a little loving, for the joy he just spread around. For the good news he came bearing. Putting her in charge up in the game and all of that. Now Markesha a little off put though, about the intrusion. She happy about the news, but feeling a little disrespected, like you just gonna pop up in my spot, player? Like this mofo just up in the crib unexpected. She turned around, here the he is. Like a damn roach. You know how you be up in your crib, just in the crib chilling, and all of a sudden you look over to the left. I looked over to the left. I realize it's you and a goddamn spider. Or a millipede or worse. This mofo start walking to water and shit. She like, oh, turn it around, player. Whoa, now go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now. 'Cause you not welcome anymore. Markesha got on that I will survive. Got on that Gloria Gaynor. Told T ass, by the way, next time you decide to roll through, player, knock first. You think this is? I might have some ass going on up in here. Y'all notice how my cup just magically fill up again? It's magic, I tell you. At some point, we catch up with Lucille and Charles up in the church, Let the church say amen. Lucille up in the pulpit singing. And Charles, well, he in the pews praising. As he starts to walk out, runs into B-Mickie, who came to the church to ask for help with the baby's surgery, Now, this was before he wound up getting a rap with T, to ask for that help. Lucille tells him they may be able to, may be able to scrape some dough out the benevolence fund, for mishaps like this that happen from time to time. I guess he couldn't wait or he didn't get it. Because as we spoke on earlier, well, B-Mickie goes to T to ask for that work. On a lighter note, on the other side of town, Nikki and her man park somewhere on the side of the damn road, spending their last night together before he goes off to college. And shortly after she goes off to her college, and they get to confessing their love for each other, a teenage love. Don't hurt me again. Don't, a teenage love. Y'all know what the I'm talking about. They get a little lusty up in that piece. I found lust on a two-way street and lost it on a lonely highway. And Nikki decides she gonna break little player off a piece of that Kit Kat. Ain't one her man starving down at Clark, Nikki ain't no goddamn fool. 'Cause around that time the Freakniks was popping. Yes, Lord, let the church say amen. And them two get the body rocking, knocking the boots up in that little Honda, I feel so good when I'm near you. That's why I always wanna be close to you. I'm so addicted. My shit was cracking. Got on that LL backseat of my Jeep, Let's swing an episode. Nikki gave up that young cheek clap. Windows was steamed up, It was a little humid up in that piece. Just as clothes was getting put back on and smirks was being shared by all. Mofos was smirking. "5-0 knock on the car window. Tell him to step out the ride." They ain't even get to bask in it for a minute. These little players was so goddamn caught up. Ain't see the flashing lights pull up on him in the back. Ain't hear the car door close when he got out and walked up to the car. Goddamn Popo caught him 30 seconds off of that pants pull up, Nate take Nikki little ass down to the precinct, Tell her the car they was in was stolen. And she tell him it was a gift from her bastard brother, Mike. She like, y'all ain't never heard of Mike, Said she was her mama's secret baby. Said Lucille was out in them streets back in the day. Just threw mud, creek water, all types of dirt on Lucille's name, They like, right, Mike, okay, not T, not Meech, this mofo Mike. Put Nikki ass in that holding cell. They like, hold that thought. While we put you in this holding cell. Cell sisters was eyeing Nicki little ass up, wasn't they? Shit, this one chick was on the toilet taking a goddamn dump. Her ass might have been on the toilet, but her eyes was on Nicki's fries. Now back at the crib at some point, Charles gets news that the gospel tour he been waiting to go on been canceled. As soon as he hung up the phone, Lucille was on his ass, wasn't she? He didn't even get to fully hang up the phone before she was like, so, how you gonna get me that child support money, player? Charles like, what child? God damn it, and why? I'm right here. I'm still up in this piece. No goddamn child support. Then a second call comes in. Popo tell him they got Nicki down at the precinct on a stolen vehicle charge. Also got her on that PI. Told her the ass and tits was out, you know. Lucille phones Meech, who was up in his spot back in the A with Duffy and a gang of ass, fresh about the local strip joint. She let Meech know that Nicki just got hemmed up, you know, that he might have just messed her whole future up. Then she hung up and got to taking Charles to task, didn't she? She like, ain't this about a bitch? You out here chasing music dreams? Trying to be the damn Pied Piper? Quit your plant job, ain't got no money, and now we gotta hit up damn T for the bail. To Charles's strong dislike. He ain't like that. Eventually, Charles like, that. And he takes one of his prized musical instruments down to the pawn shop. You know, hocked his baby. Got him that cold cash Nicki needed, that bail money. And they go down and get Nicki home. Tempers was flaring up in the Flennory household, wasn't they? Lucille got to taking Nicki to task. She like, the was you doing up in that car with your little nasty self? No, you ain't supposed to be giving that Kit Kat up just yet. And Nicki mouth, well, it got to slap me now level, you know. I was tensing up listening to Nicki ass. My goddamn good eye got to twitching. Like if my son ever came at me like that while still living up under my roof and back in school, it would have got ugly. It would have got Bubba Sparks ugly up in that bitch. You know how old school parents do. And Nicki told Lucille ass she was getting high and mighty. Woo, child. Now, I done heard an adult tell a child they was getting high and mighty. But I ain't never for God heard a child tell an adult they was getting high and mighty. As soon as Charles heard it, his ass hopped the hell up, didn't he? Lucille's nostrils was starting to flare a little bit, you know, like a ball. Lucille got her footing right, didn't she? Looked like she was moving a little bit closer to Nicki ass. You know, she planted that goddamn foot. Lucille just positioned that goddamn foot so she could plant it and leapfrog at Nicki ass when in range. You know, Lucille was not playing. She got on that hood. Lucille was looking like she was ready to ginger snap and shit. And Charles knew it. He put himself closer to in between the two of them, you know, and good thing he did. Because Nicki hit her good and below the belt shortly after. She like, I don't need your permission to drive or have sex, you know. Told Lucille her legs was cracked open like a 40 at that age. She like, shit, around this time, wasn't you on baby number 2? Lucille tried to crank that ass, didn't she? You know, planted that foot, got on that soldier boy. tried to hit Nicki with that Superman. Now watch me, you. Now watch me, you. She tried to Superman Nicki ass. And if Charles hadn't been right there to hold Lucille back, well shit, they might have needed bail for Lucille ass. Nicki looked like she wanted all the smoke too, didn't she? When Lucille jumped, she ain't flinching nothing. She like, what? I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm like, who the Nicki been fighting? But I'm sorry, they'd have had to put 2 stakes on Nicki eyes. Both of them. Because if Lucille would have got to that ass, only thing that could have helped Nicki ass was some goddamn stakes. Young whippersnapper. Nicki ass was about to get mollywopped for real. Lucille was like, I'm about to kill your ass. And on time and on schedule, Lucille and Charles be finding those opportunities to take a shot at each other, don't they? Nicki went upstairs. He tell Lucille, you got all that grace for your church folk. How about extending that here to your own daughter? You know. Lucille ain't want to hear none of that shit. And I wouldn't either. She like to up out of here, Charles. And don't nobody want to hear your ass. And at some point, Nicki get a call from Meech, asking her who name she said gave her the car. Nicki knew what time it was. She like, Mike, motherfucker, get out of here. And at some point, Charles puts back on that GM uniform, you know, goes back to work. Stepping back a little. When Meech got that call from his mama, he get off the phone looking at Duffy like, what the man, I thought them cars was good. You know, like his whole high was blown. That his little sister got caught up in a stolen car he thought was good. Duffy like, well, the dealer said the car was good. And at some point they go visit the dealer, you know, to check on this little violation of sorts that occurred here to Meech's sister. The dealer tell him, well, the seller told me the car was clean. Like these mofos was lacking and lunching at this dealership. Just then Meech see Bryant slowly making his way up into the car dealership. And he warns the dealer about Bryant, tells her he gonna be asking some questions, but keep your mouth closed, you know. Then he and Duffy piece out a side door. At some point they wind up chilling back at the strip club, you know, listening to this shorty named Purdy, you know, and she's somebody who's being promoted that night as a new artist. And they playing her music. In fact, the club was hosting a listening party for her. Motherfucking artist was getting made up in the strip club, you know. Like if a mofo can make a chick feel like the goddamn pole vault superstar she is, you know. Have a chick feeling like Sylvester sliding down the goddamn pole, you know. You make me feel mighty real. Make me feel mighty real. I feel. You know, if your music got a chick feeling mighty real while she performing them stunts, glitter glistening all over her body, buns out, guns out, well, that's gonna get them dollars out, you know, double time. And that's good for business. And that artist might have a future, even if only in them scripper type establishments, you know. Purdy sitting at the bar with a basic look, you know, like no money was spent on presenting an image to match the sound and natural talents that she had, you know, look-wise. She over at the bar sitting by herself, ain't even with her music team. Goddamn producer sitting at a table, drinking up all the good liquor. With a gaggle of chicks. Left Purdy ass sipping on some Ballantine ale and shit. Had Purdy ass at the bar sipping on some goddamn Boone's Farm and shit, you know. At her own goddamn release party. And Meech takes issue with that, you know. Goes over, gets a rap with her. Tells her that she deserves better. Like this is supposed to be your night. Just then Lucky take the stage, you know. Old girl Lucky who played second fiddle to Angel last season. Looked like Lucky wasn't fucking around either. You know, got up on that stage feeling like goddamn Lisa Ray, feeling like Diamond. Stripping to that R. Kelly, you know. It seems like you're ready. Had Meech ass captivated. Like he ain't never seen Lucky before. Purdy ass, her existence faded to the damn back. Got Purdy to fuck about the shot. It was over for Purdy ass for the night. Of course, he'd leave with Lucky, who looked like she might be his new angel. Now, they go back to Duffy's spot, and while he getting high off of pills, Lucky was pushing to his ass. J-Pusha was getting that shipment that was supposed to come to the A. And his ass got to scheming, you know, seeing all them bricks. He like, if we move this product, all this product ourselves, since eyes is on Meech right now, well, what the the plug need with Meech? And he get to scheming. Now, they already got Loco name, but they ain't got Loco trust. We gonna see what's what. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the A, Detective Bryant rolling with his new AA brother, you know, Lil Milton's pop. Bryant drops homeboy off up in Techwood, you know, trying to get close to him, see what he can find out, you know, because he real green about Meech and the drug scene happening in the ATL, you know, and he a lone wolf on this one, on the undercover tip, you know, taking advantage of Milton's pop's grief. Drops Pop off, you know. Sees some cat sitting on a bench. That project bench, you know. You know the one. Even if it ain't in the projects, there's a fence, a stoop, something where the players play, where the players dwell. And Bryant decided it was a good idea to go up to that bench, you know, and engage the young players. Looking and sounding like straight up 5-0, you know. He like, any of y'all young bloods got a light? Just sounding like Pop. They get the sun in Bryant's ass, you know. They like, not for you, Pops. You ain't even from round here. Only reason we ain't beat that ass is cause you was with Milton Pops, you know. And we know he's still grieving. Just then the real Atlanta Popo show up, you know. Them dirty red dogs. Doing what them red dogs do. Them mofos was loud as hell rolling up in them PJs, wasn't they? You know, they came around the corner. Goddamn Goodyears was screeching. Mofos that was outside was suddenly now inside. One thing about Techwood, or any project for that matter, is motherfuckers know how to scramble though, don't they? Cats pieced the fuck about that joint, didn't they? Mofos was like, red dogs, run! Like you had to tell a motherfucker to run. Red dogs be having folks up on that be gone. I mean, babies that ain't learned to walk yet stood the hell up and meeped out that. Wasn't nobody fucking around with them red dogs. You could hear the red dogs on foot talking about, don't run, don't run. I'm like, motherfucker, what? Like I'm really about to stay around and get my whooped. Yeah, okay. Cause you suggested I don't run. These mofos got to whooping some ass, didn't they? Cause if you was outside, well, you was part of the problem, right? I mean, according to them, in a known drug zone. When them folk come raiding, it don't matter whether you a student, A student, F student. If you in from out of town, you in that zone when the raid go down, you getting caught up. And these goddamn red dogs, well, they was always raiding, wasn't they? According to popular legend. This mofo Bryant all of a sudden realized his ass was in troubled waters, you know. He started to turn tail and shit, made a beeline for the goddamn whip. Goddamn Bryant was moving like he had an invisibility cloak on and shit. Like, this mofo was on a mission. Like, my name is Paul, and that shit's between y'all, you know. Gets approached by the red dogs, like all of them. They get to throwing his ass up against the car. They like, the you doing here, Grandpa? Bryant like, man, I got these smokes, see? But no light. These Newports ain't gonna light themselves, player. You know how it go. They like, oh yeah, you need a light? They gave his ass one, lit Bryant ass up. Lit his ass up proper like. They beat the dog shit out of Bryant ass. Took him down to the station. Found out he was a DT. And he tell him he tracking BMF, you know. They tell his ass they familiar with BMF. But to keep his ass out of Techwood, you know, and out of their business, got on that looter, told his ass to roll out. Roll out. Get about my business, my business. He pieced up out of there. Gets home, gets a call from a DT up in the D who tells him about Nikki getting arrested for being in a stolen vehicle. A car that was sold from a luxury car dealership in the A. And he goes to visit that dealership, you know, but was given a runaround by the manager who had just been visited by Meech a few minutes ago. He get back home, gets a visit from one of the red dogs who was fresh off of whooping his ass. Gives him some input on Meech. You know, he came on friendly terms. Gives him some input on Meech and BMF movements. Tells him about a flight coming in from Colombia. Might be something, might not. But offers to work with Bryant, you know. And they go on down to that flight's arrival. Red Dogs and Bryant. And the lead cat, whose name was Kang. Well, Kang tells them when the plane arrives and the door opens, we gonna rush it. And Bryant tries to tell him that's not the best plan, you know. Kang like, whatever, player. You know, you just here visiting. And as soon as that plane arrives, they rush it. Mofos that was flying it come out speaking no English. And they see about 15 armed cats from all sides with guns. Now they half had their hands up, but they was looking a little shady, you know. Like they wasn't quite sure if they was gonna be on that Busta Rhymes, you know. Wasn't quite sure if they were quite ready to put their hands where Popo eyes could see. And one of them gets the bright idea that he needed to grab something from under his shirt, 15 guns pointing at his ass. And all them guns got to popping, you know. And they had cops on all sides, shooting at these mofos in like a goddamn circle, like the dumbest ever. And well, of course, somebody missed, because that's what the going to happen in a situation like that. And some friendly fire occurs. and a bullet lands up in Kang's neck, Like these dumbasses shooting from behind these two cats from the plane, while these other cops in the front, some rookie-ass mofos. And they checked the plane, ain't even no drugs on the plane. Meech and Duffy watching from a distance like these dumbasses. 'Cause the decoy plane that they just sent, well, that just resulted in one less red dog on them ATL streets, Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do. See you at the crossroads. BMF 1, Red Dog 0.